right, episode 121 of Pursuit of Balance. Happy Friday. We're going to talk about what to do throughout the holidays. I always like to talk about this at the end of the year because I think so many people ask about it, and B, I personally struggle with it too. So we're going to kind of talk about before, during, and after for all the travel and vacations that go through during the holidays. As most people know, hardest time of year to navigate as far as we'll just use kind of the typical weight loss goal that most of us have. The hardest time of year to navigate tends to always be the holidays. I've always said that in this industry, it's like Halloween happens and then it slows down a little bit. You know, October's not a super slow month for us. And then it's like once Thanksgiving happens, it's almost like buckle up till Jan 15th. And I've had like an inside joke as a coach to my clients that I'm like, if I can at least just maintain with you guys from Thanksgiving to the middle of January, the beginning of January, like let's treat that as a win. I know a lot of my clients, personal clients that I have, are almost all of them are gone during kind of like the Christmas weeks or, you know, coming up basically for the next like 3 weeks on and off. And obviously in the gym, like, I can vouch for our poor billing lady, the amount of freezes and, you know, billing stuff that she's been doing with having 600 clients asking to all freeze during the same time. So I know a lot of people are gone. I know a lot of people are traveling. That's obviously why I thought it would be a good time to talk about it. So I want to actually start with what to do when you're on vacation, right? This is always like a funny thing because I think a lot of times, you know, me and Coach Harvey were actually talking about this yesterday a little bit. Like, I love what he said because I agree with it, and I say this all the time as well. That at the end of the time, like, you need to remember that this time of year, what makes the end of the year, I think, so beautiful is the fact that it's like, without it even being conscious, it's a great way for us to kind of just like relax and kind of reflect on the year and kind of just like slow down and coast into the new year. And I think a lot of times, like, people make the end of the year very stressful, and it can be for so many reasons. Like, I know, like, kind of personally on the business side, I got a lot of stuff that I need to do before the calendar year ends. And, you know, so that could be a little stressful. But, you know, from a personal level, I personally love this time of year. Like, we were just talking about Nikki and I a few nights ago that, like, I love watching classic movies once Thanksgiving happens. And I don't know, just the house feels cozy with the lights. The weather makes you just not want to do anything. Obviously, for anybody that's traveling or if you're going skiing or snowboarding. So I think, like, the most important thing to understand is, like, I don't think there should be any unneeded pressure from you on yourself on needing to diet perfectly or get your exercise in or sleep perfectly. I think the most important thing to understand at the end of the year or on vacation in general, no matter the time of year, is it's meant to just relax and be taking stress off of you and just meant to enjoy time with yourself or loved ones or whoever you're with. So the most important thing that I can kind of open up with is understand that vacation and travel shouldn't have too many regulations. And I use the word too many because I think there should be some structure. That's obviously why we'll talk a little bit about the before and after and how to kind of navigate those things. I don't know if anybody's like me, but I know that when I get on vacation, I tend to be a little bit more disciplined with some of the things that I do as far as, you know, being consistent with my exercise. Generally, I like to run on vacations instead of workout with weight training, kind of give myself a little bit of break of that. And I generally just like to move as much as possible, but it kind of slowly dwindles down depending on kind of what type of vacation you're doing. I'm personally someone that likes to go to warm places where there's water and a beach. But I think, like, the most important thing, if I can open up with the first statement that I have, is move as much as possible. I think the beautiful thing about vacations for so many of us, like, this is always the good European example that people are like, oh, I had a fit start actually this week. She was just saying it. She's like, every time I go on vacation, I feel like I lose weight. And it's like, just because I'm eating smaller portions and I'm moving more and I'm walking more, I'm going on hikes or I'm swimming or I'm at the beach or at the lake or, you know, obviously wherever you guys are going, your environment will kind of dictate what you do outside. But that's always the cool thing is I think, you know, especially in Silicon Valley, a lot of our clients and just people in general, like, have this modern day lifestyle where we work remotely and we are cold, so we don't really have any motivation to even go on walks, maybe that we normally would do a little bit more in the summertime. So when you guys are on your vacations, I think the most important thing to understand is maybe don't be as hard on yourself about exercise, but be a little bit more disciplined with moving way more. Like, if you can overcompensate with anything, I'd rather you move more and exercise less, because treat it two ways. If you are someone that's normally taking, 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day, and then you go on a vacation and you ski for 8 hours, or you go to somewhere warm and you're walking around and you're swimming, and depending on where I have a client of ours that they're going to Australia, so it's going to be their summertime. It's going to be beautiful over there. So more beach time, more walking around. That would be the biggest kind of piece of advice I can give for people like when they're on vacation as far as the exercise and movement side goes. Exercise if you have the ability, because you have an Airbnb that has a little gym built in, or a gym by you, or your hotel does. Obviously, if you can go sneak a workout first thing in the morning, that would be a huge benefit to you. But I always try to remind clients, like, hey, like, you're not gone forever, right? Like, if you are consistent with your routine when you are here, then I don't think there needs to be as much stretch. I personally like to view my weight training as kind of like a great way to just indirectly just kind of give myself a little bit of a deload from weights, right? Like, I'm just going to be moving more, walking, swimming, whatever it might be, and I'm going to give myself a break from weight training. Mobility, I will say I tend to be pretty bad about it, like when I'm on vacation. That's just me personally. I think that would be an amazing thing for people that can do it if they have to at least just like move your body a little bit more, or take the yoga class maybe that fancy hotel that you're staying at has. Like, those kind of things are nice. But the weight training, like, as far as timing goes, if you are someone that's looking to try to like maintain as much as possible, or obviously you're in a season of kind of growth and you're really kind of, if you have a lot of momentum coming into your vacation, I think it's important for you to try to maintain that, right? And so that's where some of these exercise kind of structure, I think, maybe becomes more important. The only thing that I can give you my tip on for just myself and clients that I've worked with is do it first thing in the morning. Do it before the kids get up if you got a family. Do it before your wife or husband gets up, or your friends get up, like whoever you're on vacation with, and just get it done, because the entire purpose of a vacation is to relax and enjoy yourself. So do that the rest of the day. Trying to, I don't know, I mean, I'll speak from my own bias. Like, my fiance and I, we're drinkers, so like we'll go to breakfast and I'll have a drink, I'll have a beer, or lunch, or whatever. So the motivation to do anything after that starts to happen is pretty low. So I'd much rather like get what, and that's different for everyone. I'm just kind of giving you guys my example. Get whatever you need to get done first thing in the morning, right? And that's just kind of like a good hack to think about even in normal life, is if you're someone that has a busy or stressful life with family or work, the quicker you can get it done in the beginning of the day, the more likely it is to be sustainable, because the less likely you are to make up excuses on why you shouldn't do it, or why you're tired, or why you're stressed, or whatever excuse and reason that you'll give yourself. And that's normal, because all human brains will justify those type of things, because comfort is the crisis that we all face. But that's just something to think about, right? So now, as far as nutrition goes when you're on like your vacation, I think the one thing, Shyla, hopefully she's listening to this. Shout out to you, because this is where the idea came from. They're talking about this. She's going to Thailand, and I can't speak for Thailand and what type of food that you get, like with Thai food in general. Like, I can't speak for most of those things, but my nutrition, to be honest with you, it doesn't really change dramatically. And I think for me, if anything, I probably try to just focus on having a nice lunch and a nice dinner. Like, I think the cool thing about me for vacation, and I'm just speaking my personal bias, and hopefully this influences or motivates somebody. I don't snack much, because I'm not going to be in the hotel like I would be like when I'm home, right? So like when I get home, or I get into the hotel, it's like I'm going to bed. Like, a majority of my day is spent outside. Like, the hotel is not somewhere I like to kind of hang out. Well, maybe not the premises, like the room, but the premises maybe. But so the same thing that I would tell myself here is the same thing I would tell myself on vacation, right? Is like, I crave protein-rich meals and entrees and apps. I try to eat as much protein as I can. The one thing that I will say mentally helps me feel good about having a little bit more lax on the having less training, or eating more calories, or eating shittier food, or eating more sweets, like wherever you feel like you're kind of like off of your normal routine, that's kind of where I like to say, if you have the discipline and the motivation, overcompensate on the other side of it, right? Understand that you're doing it for 5 days, you're doing it for 10 days, 20 days, however long you're gone. Excuse me. So taking advantage of understanding those things, like for me, I always felt good just because like my balance in my diet is definitely drinks. Like when I go to Maui, I want to be drinking Mai Tais all day on a beach. Nikki's going to get her pina coladas. I'm going to have a beer at lunch or on the golf course in the morning. But no matter what, my diet is still very protein rich. I eat 2 big meals instead of like 3, or snacking all day. I don't really snack when I'm on vacation. So I think like the quality of the food, it's important to like explore and enjoy yourself once again when you're on the vacation and try these new foods. But at the end of the day, I think the dietary choices shouldn't be too far out of alignment for what your goals are and what you're kind of, because at the end of the day, like, you need to remember all these changes that you're trying to create for your health come from first making the identity change behind it, right? So, I have clients that are vegetarian, I have clients that are carnivore, I have clients that, like, have different maybe kind of protocols and diet. Once you make that part of your identity, it doesn't really matter where you're at. Like, if you're a vegetarian, you can go to Australia or Thailand and still have those choices and still make those choices, right? If you're a carnivore, you can still make those choices, right? So no matter what, I think, like, once it becomes part of your identity, those nutrition choices should be a little bit easier to navigate no matter where you're at. But enjoy yourself, because, like, for me, obviously, I'm not home cooking almost at all on vacation, or in the wintertime, I would say more so. And I'm eating out at restaurants more. But, like, when we go to Tahoe and we stay at our cabin, I like to cook at home sometimes, right? So then it's easier for me to navigate having a better breakfast. It's easier for me to navigate having a dinner at home every once in a while. But then there's some vacations when I go to Maui or something where I'm like, I'm not eating anything. Like, the only thing that they have is, like, a cup of noodles that you can buy at the lobby, right? Like, there's not, like, you can't cook. Like, I don't stay in a place that has that. So I think, once again, there's a lot of, obviously, context to that. So when it comes to, like, that part of your vacation, right? Like, move as much as possible, exercise if you can, don't stress out if you can't. Nutrition, prioritize your protein, try to focus on meals. I'd rather you have more fun exploring good meals versus kind of just, like, trying to have little snacks here and there. I drink a lot of coffee no matter what I'm at. So for me, I always start first thing in the morning, cup of coffee. I skip breakfast. I'll have a lunch after some type of movement or exercise. I like to golf. I like to run. I like to just do something. And then, as much as I can the rest of the day, I'm doing what, like, my dog does. I'm either moving around, chasing something, chasing waves, swimming, rock climbing, doing whatever, or I'm just laying down, tanning, and relaxing. That's my style of vacation. So once again, depending on what you're doing. Now, when it comes to the preemptive side of it, I think the most important thing to understand about coming into a vacation, if you're someone that's maybe a little stressed about some of the things that possibly will change when you're gone, is do your best to create as much momentum as possible coming into it, right? Because going into a vacation, and I'll just speak on this, not even necessarily just on a health perspective, even on, like, a financial perspective, or just a mental state, right? Like, for me, I know sometimes, like, what I've been on vacations a couple times in life where, like, there was a lot of stuff that I needed to do work-wise that I didn't get done, that kind of sat in the back of my head and didn't let me truly relax, right? So, like, the whole point of this holiday season and vacations in general is to be able to relax. I can't say that enough. So the most important thing, I think, like, the before part of your vacations or travel in general, is get everything done that maybe has been in the back of your head, right? Like, write a to-do list of stuff, of not just, hey, I need to pack. Like, write the things maybe that you have personally or professionally, and get those things done. Now, when it comes to the exercise and nutrition side of these things, the biggest goal for you is to create as much momentum of feeling really, really good going into it, right? Because if you've been kind of a slob going into a vacation, it's very easier for you to just feel like a slob on vacation, right? So we want to do as much as we can on the exercise front. We want to do as much as being disciplined on the nutrition and doing our best to manage stress towards the end of the year, both on the personal and professional level. But the one thing in, like, the winter time, just specific to this conversation with the holiday season, is you guys need to remember this. During the winter months, we have less light, right? With less light, there's less motivation to go outside and do things when it's dark. Number two, with less light and a lower temperature and colder weather, it's also very unmotivating to go do things outside. So when you think about that, just in general, this is one of the things I've always loved about the laws of nature, is laws of nature will teach us that in the wintertime, depending on geographically where you live, you probably should be eating less. You naturally will be moving less. So that's where I think, like, in the winter season, this is being a before and after part of the conversation of today for your vacations. I think one of the most important things most people probably could do is actually up their training, right? Like, if you're training normally twice a week or normally 3 times a week, I think you should be trying to shoot for 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, because you want to have a balance from the lack of movement naturally that will be created during this time of year, right? And obviously there's context. Like, if you're someone that's disciplined year-round, 365 days, 52 weeks a year, you're able to do the same thing year-round, then sure, this maybe doesn't pertain to you as much. But for the majority of all people that I know, my clients, teammates, coworkers, myself, I try to exercise more during this time of year because I know I naturally move a little less. I like to walk the dog every day of the week when it's nice. I've walked the dog once this week and it's Friday, right? So it just kind of goes to show you, like, even without it being a conscious decision to do less, it just naturally happens. So that diet will kind of change too, right? So like same thing with the diet, right? Is like knowing that majority of our food in the perfect world would be eaten when the sun's out. And I use this as a rule of thumb because not only metabolically are we more insulin sensitive, so we can kind of be more effective and efficient with the calories that we're kind of doing metabolically, but it's just kind of like an easy rule of thumb. Like at the end of the day, like I eat a lot of my calories at night too. It's nothing that's gonna kill you. It's not gonna put a bunch of weight on you. But remember that you're naturally a little bit more insulin resistant when the sun's down because that's just circadian biology. So those are things on the diet side too that, like, you know, for me, I was just talking to clients of ours, Donna and Duran. They're both went carnivore a few years ago, and I just learned this a couple days ago. And they both have had like the coolest results. Like they've lost, I think he was saying just shy of like, I could be butchering this, but I want to say it was close to like 80 pounds, and she looks amazing. Like they look great, super consistent in the gym. They've been here for a handful of years. Carnivore, obviously, I had no idea that's what they were doing. But it obviously has been working tremendously well for them. And something that I was kind of mentioning about this geographical location is like, I think a good rule of thumb in the wintertime is when the sun is not shining as much and we have less light, when you eat in season, you realize that some of these, like in the northern hemisphere during this time of year, for example, if I lived in Alaska, I would probably be eating a lot of meat and I'd be borderline carnivore or keto. If I lived in Costa Rica, I would be a carbitarian eating fruit year round. So I think your geographical location will dictate the type of food during the time of year for you, right? So I think during this time of year, one of the things that I really try to push and preach is like, I eat a lot less fruit and a lot less, well, I would say a lot less vegetable. I think vegetables kind of for me is just like, whatever the minimum effective dose is, I put enough in during dinner. But I'm not a huge veggie person. I think I get more of like my micronutrients from just fruit in general when you think about kind of like the plant-based side of things. But really, I just like try to prioritize as much meat as possible. I do a little bit more bone broth, right? I do a little bit more fattier meats because maybe I'm not eating from other things. But no matter, I don't even try to be too particular with the type of cuts. So I think that's also kind of like a good thing for you guys to think about is like during this time of year, your winter time, like you really should try to make a priority of like borderline being close to keto, eating a little bit more carnivore. And I don't like to put diets on names, but it's just easy for people to kind of attach what I mean behind this. But like prioritize your protein year round. But during the summer months, like we like to go out to restaurants more. I eat a hell of a lot more fruit. I eat a little bit more carbohydrates. I think I eat more food in general. So during the winter months, I eat less fruit. I'm eating out less at restaurants. I'm eating less food. Like I always tend to just like not be a big eater in the middle of the day. Like right now it's almost 3 o'clock and I still haven't eaten yet. Just had a cup of coffee. So it's just like, you know, easy things to kind of navigate, but that cyclical approach is going to be a great way for you to kind of maintain having some sustainability behind not having to do the same thing 52 weeks a year. But then B, just like biologically, I think like we as humans, just when you look at circadian rhythm, like that is something that nature has always kind of provided us, depending on where you live. Obviously, like I said, there's context to that. You live by the equator, it's pretty much the same thing year round, so it doesn't really have to change as much. But here for us in the Bay Area and Palo Alto, like it's something that like we have a very different winter time. Like December looks very different than July, right? After your vacation, here's one thing that like me and Harvey were talking about this that I mentioned earlier. I think one of the most important things to do to allow you to kind of be motivated about coming back is, number one, I think the break from life, from work, from people, from whatever you're maybe trying to detach yourself from a little bit, which vacations are beautiful for. Enough time on the vacation is important because it gives you excitement to come back. I will just speak my 2 senses. I think I'm in my own camp. I love what I do. I get kind of anxiety around day 5 on a vacation of like, fuck, I kind of feel like I should be back at work. I would say the last 2 years, the first time I've realized that like I was able to do the 7 or a 10-day vacation and actually be like, shut off. And I think that's just because work is in a much better place. I've delegated a handful of things. I found my little system for being able to be on top of my work when I am gone. So it allows me to kind of do that thing. But when you come back, I think it's important like to just book your stuff in advance, right? Like book your workouts, get your schedule fit. Like you're going to come into this new year from your vacation with just a lot of momentum, right? Because you're going to have, well, depending if the holidays are stressful or not for you, Some people like meeting with their family as a stressful thing. Some people it's actually a restorative thing. So that's always something to kind of think about, is like coming into the new year is like, let's take this opportunity that naturally the New Year's resolution is always going to be something that mentally us as humans kind of hold on to. And it's a great way for us to kind of have this reset. So treat the holidays like the end of December as restoration and relax, and treat the January as a great time to reset. So when you're on that flight back, take the time maybe to write down the goals that you guys have set for yourself for the new year, right? Write down the things that personally you want to accomplish, professionally you want to accomplish, maybe the diet changes or these fitness changes, whatever goal. I think taking the opportunity of coming back after the vacation or literally on the way back is probably the best piece of advice I can give you, as a way to kind of take a little time for reflection and take time for some goal setting, right? And when you can take that opportunity to kind of give yourself a little bit of structure and a roadmap of like, this is what I want to do moving forward. If there's any changes, I think obviously with the relax and kind of reflection time that we have that the holidays provide us, there might be some changes that you come to. Like, you know what, moving forward, I don't want to do this. Or moving forward, I don't want to work this night. Or I want to do this type of workout. I want to work out this many times a week. Or I want to try this type of diet or like whatever it is, right? Like, obviously take this opportunity, but I think the most important thing is like coming into the New Year's with momentum. Take advantage of that energy that your body is going to naturally have, right? Because coming into a new year, we all feel that. This is why New Year's resolutions are such a popular thing. This is why in my industry, we like to market hard during January and try to captivate as many people that are maybe on the edge. Like, I think it's a natural thing that the calendar has provided us, that when we hit Jan 1, 2025, there's going to be, or whenever you guys get back from your vacation, there's going to be this natural boost from the momentum that we feel psychologically. So I think the biggest thing that you can do to take advantage of that is use that energy and channel to move it forward. Like, figure out the areas that you've really struggled with, right? Like, take the time and reflection and looking at like, okay, what I had set for myself in 2024, did I accomplish it? And did I accomplish it? If I did not accomplish it, why? So was I not motivated to do it alone? Was I not accountable or disciplined? Or was it I just didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the structure? Like, whatever it is, you need to kind of reevaluate it down to its core level and then figure out, okay, that I proven myself this didn't work by myself, or this way, or this strategy, or this route. What do you think is going to be the next step up, right? And whatever it is, do I need help with the education and the knowledge to get there? Do I need more accountability from people or coaches or professionals to get me to that place? And do that on a personal level and a professional level, because I think it's like the one thing that I'm currently doing right now is I'm trying to, this is a little bit of tax reasons, but I'm trying to basically just expend on whatever I need to take care of moving into the next year. And then personally, I've cleaned out my whole room last weekend. Oh my God, I felt so fucking good. I got rid of 12 garbage bags worth of clothes and shoes, 26 pairs of shoes, hats, shirts, like everything. I'm buying some bookshelves, so I need to basically make my office a little bit cleaner. I got a bunch of storage bins so I can get this last little bit of stuff. And I'm doing this all before the end of the year. And I kind of told myself that, of like, I need to get all this shit done. I wrote it all down on the whiteboard of like, this is what I need to have done before the end of the year. And I'm going to get every single one of those things done. And then I'm going to erase that crap. And I'm going to write, this is what I want to do moving forward in the new year. This is what I want to do for the business. This is what I want for personal stuff. This is what I want for my relationship. And these are the things that I'm going to do. Now, how do I actually go about structuring the plan to actually accomplish these goals? That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you guys with the after, is like, take the opportunity of having the downtime to use that reflection, use the time to relax, value what's important, which is time off. It's time with your family and friends. It's celebrating what you've accomplished this year, and then figure out how you can do that moving forward, right? All right, guys. Well, that's it. You know how I don't like to ramble too much, and we are at 24 minutes. Perfecto. I like that time. I will see you guys next week. And then I might not see you till the beginning of next year. And the exciting news, I know this is episode 121, so you might get one more episode out of me this year. But starting next year, I had the contractor start this week. I'm getting the new bungalow put together in the Mountain View location. So I'm going to have like an actual podcast studio. For those that don't know the Palo Alto gym that well, or where I'm doing this, I'm up in the attic space. That's why you can hear weights and coaches and barbells and music in the background. I'm going to have like an official podcast studio, and I'm going to add 2 chairs. I'm going to add 2 mics. Well, I basically have 2 chairs, have 2 mics, And moving forward, I want to try to, not all of them, but I want to start bringing guests on. I think like one of the evolutions, I've realized how much I just enjoy the podcast. For me, it's much easier to just sit and just chop it up versus planning the video editing aspect of it or writing it down for the emails newsletter. I've had, Fada's helping with me with now, and that's a blessing because I need that help. So moving forward, when I see you guys in the next year, not the next episode, you guys are going to see a new background. Well, not much. I think I'm going to keep kind of this wood background, but it's going to look hopefully a little bit more professional, maybe in the lighting, maybe in the audio quality. There's going to be no background noise. So I am super thrilled about that. So other than that, I'll stop talking. You guys have a good rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Later.